Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and have ourselves a drink.
All right, and with Michaela's singing, that means we are back in Lobby Bar for December the 2nd, 2024. Brian and Michaela here with you. And Michaela, we have turned the page, right? November is now a thing of the past. December is here in all of its glory, snowy glory. If you're up by Buffalo, New York, they got like 19 feet of snow. That's not great. That's not great. It's also
19
been very cold.
feet?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I made that up, but they got a lot. They got a lot. We didn't get any snow here, although they're forecasting we might get some. That'd be pretty wild. It is dead cold outside. It's wild. I don't know what's going on with the world. But how are you doing? You were just out in Texas and spending your Thanksgiving with some friends. How was that? Did you have any good cocktails or anything you want to chime us in on before we get to
Oh my
the
gosh.
to the bits and bobs of the lobby bar?
Yeah, so I did a couple of things in New Orleans that I can't wait to talk about. I went to an absinthe bar, okay, for the
Okay,
first time ever. I want to say it's
like
the
an
first
Euro
time
trip.
ever. Yeah. And do you know how many times they get a joke about that at this absinthe bar in New Orleans? It is called the Old Absinthe House.
There's a lot of amateur hour drinkers in New Orleans, so
Yeah,
I bet a lot.
that
I bet a lot.
that is that is true. But I went there and it's called the Old Absinthe House. It is actually on Bourbon Street. But it was fairly empty. And the best kept secret about this place, if you like absinthe, is right here. So bring yourself in, everybody. Michaela's going to tell a little story. In the back of the Old Absinthe House is a very old speakeasy bar where they serve absinthe out of like antique drip machines. It
Mm-hmm.
was beautiful. Now they don't open that place up very often, so you gotta know when to go, and by going and talking to the beautiful Erin who's behind the bar, she will tell you when that space opens. But it is gorgeous and dark and like it's very like 1782 behind these doors, mixed with like some good old prohibition style like early 1900s. There's absinthe bottles everywhere. It's so cool. And
Mm-hmm.
I am much
Mm-hmm.
more of a like I like to drink, right? I mean, we have a cocktail podcast, but I don't like to drink so much where I look like it's amateur hour for me. But I gotta say, I kicked back quite a few of these in there because it just looks so cool. The drinks are really well priced, and I got to learn about this way of breaking down the sugar, because normally what you do is you put like a sugar cube on like a spoon and you drip the absinthe
Mm-hmm.
into
Mm-hmm.
it over time, and it takes a very long time for your drink to be made, and I mean like 30 minutes for your drink to be made. We didn't have that kind of time. You don't have that kind of time on bourbon, so we did the bohemian method, which is pouring absinthe over it directly and setting it on fire to like crystallize and break down the sugar, and then adding a little bit of water over time to the drink itself to create that beautiful cloudiness in the green. There are like 37 different types of absinthe as well. Didn't know anything about that. That was super
Yeah.
cool because some are really opaque when they get at water gets added to them. Some turn into like a blue color. There was a blue absinthe that was totally amazing. Some had this menthol kind of mouthfeel and taste. Some had like a pepperminty feel to them. Some were just all star anise, like this black licorice from the back of your mouth that I hated, but was good to try anyway. So many options. That was what I did. That was probably the highlight from a cocktail perspective, was going to the Old Absinthe House.
Okay, great. That sounds like a really good time and a good tip there. It feels like you were spilling some secrets there about the speakeasy, though. So hopefully no one comes knocking on your door about that. But that sounds great. So maybe we'll have to talk about absinthe a little bit more in the future and some future lobby bars as we get into like our specific ingredients for the month, right? So we've been doing that for a couple months now. I'm really liking the way that that's going. I think it's been helpful to people to get a few cocktails in for, a bottle of something that they're going to buy for the month. And this month I think is going to be really good because it's perfect for this time of year. It's delicious, and honestly, other than serving it straight up over some ice, or just drinking some or putting some in coffee, you don't really know what to do with this. So we're going to get into all that stuff because this month, Michaela, we are talking about Irish cream liqueur.
We sure are. Uh, And I love how this works. So for those of you who don't know at Drink the Movies, I do all the fun stuff. I feel like it's all the fun stuff. It must not all be the fun stuff, but I pick the drinks. I pick a lot of the movies. Brian gets to tell me how awful they are. I'm looking at you, medicine man. Anyway, I picked Irish
Yep.
cream, and the first thing Brian says is, fun fact, Irish cream, bet it's not from Ireland. And I was like, "Cha, that can't be right."
Yeah, it is right, absolutely. So when you think of Irish cream, you think of the big one, of course, is Bailey's, but there's a couple of other brands out there. Five Farms, I know, is one that you like a lot, Michaela. Kerrygold is one that I like a lot. Carolyn's is another big brand out there that you might see. But yeah, definitely not from Ireland. It's actually from London, England. It was invented by Tom Jago, not very old either, in 1973. But did this as a basically a brand new product that was to be called Bailey's. Now, in the year 2024, the European Union says that Irish cream liqueur has to be made in Ireland. I don't really know how they settled on that since it's not Irish at its birth, but it is Irish in its designation now, and that's where it all comes from. So let's talk a little bit about Bailey's being the big one here. They're pretty secretive of their actual recipe, but we know that it contains a proprietary chocolate extract. And it also has some sugar, vanilla, and caramel in there, and then a blend of different Irish whiskeys that they used. Now, this is kind of an interesting fact and probably good to know for people out there. I went and read the date on my bottle as soon as I read this and learned this fact. Maybe you should go do the same, Michaela. But once they make the bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream, it has a shelf life of 2 years. Now, that's whether you open it or not, whether you have it in the refrigerator or not. Bailey says 2 years from the day that it is made, it is good to go. So check that out. And you want to check out if you're doing a different brand out there because they all have their own guidelines. Michaela, Five Farms says 3 years if it's left unopened, but only 6 months once it's opened and in the refrigerator. So 6 months. So get that stuff drank up there. So check those out if you have a bottle of that. You might want to look at it. I don't know what happens. I don't think it explodes or anything, but probably just the flavor doesn't go very good. So check those out. Michaela, Bailey's Irish Cream. What do you do with it? Right? You can use it straight up over ice. You can use it in your baked goods. You can make like a Bailey's
Mm,
chocolate cake. That sounds pretty good, but probably the most famous way to serve Bailey's is to just have a Bailey's and coffee.
yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's my favorite. Every don't quote me because I don't want to get fired. But pretty much from now until Christmas time, every coffee that I'm making is going to have a little bit of Bailey's in it.
Michaela means
Not
next
enough.
Christmas time, by the way.
I mean, next Christmas. I mean, Christmas of 2038. Okay.
Yes.
Every coffee should have a little bit of Bailey's. One of the things that I loved, though, growing up, I didn't drink a lot until I was old enough to actually drink. But one of the things that was really big in my house was my dad liked Irish whiskey, like a Bushmills.
Hmm.
He really liked it. And so at Christmas time, it was always kind of a thing. He would put a little bit of Irish whiskey into a cup of coffee on the weekends. And I would take a sip. And as a kid, I was like, this is disgusting. And now I'm like, this is amazing. And what better thing to add to that than a little bit of Bailey's? I mean, let's do it up
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely, absolutely. We covered the Irish coffee way back in our second ever episode when we talked about Elf, right? We did the famous Irish coffee there from San Francisco. You can remember the name of the bar
The the
restaurant. I
Buena
cannot.
Vista. That's
Yeah, the
right.
Buena Vista. There you go. So look that up. That's the traditional one, but we're going with Bailey's this month. We want to jazz it up, and it's delicious, and it's extra delicious because it has Bailey's in it, and that's delicious, and all sorts of stuff. So the way the Bailey's says to make their Irish coffee is to use 2 ounces of Bailey's and then 1 ounce of an Irish whiskey. So Bushmills, Jameson, Redbreast, whatever kind of Irish whiskey you want. So two of the Baileys, one of the Irish whiskey, and then top that off with coffee. You can add some whipped cream if you want to add a little bit of extra sugar, but you don't really need it with the Baileys, to be honest. That is pretty sweet. And this is basically replacing that Buena Vista Irish coffee, the sugar cube that goes in there with the Baileys. That's what's giving your sugar components there. Sip and enjoy because you're going to need these, right? We're into December now, still a little bit hungover from Thanksgiving, and we're going to need the energy to make it all the way through the holidays.
We are.
You mentioned you drink one every day. Well, not every day, but this is pretty
No,
good. This
not
is
every
a
day.
tasty weekend treat for sure.
Oh, 100%. It's so worth your time. And honestly, apparently, you need to. I'm pretty much everybody that's listening probably has a bottle of Bailey's that they need to get rid of now, because we think it either lasts forever or it lasts a week.
Hmm. Hmm.
I need to go look. They have flavored Baileys. That's kind of fun. And you could add those to your coffee as well. Like they have a peppermint one they did for a while. They had a chocolate one. They had a
Hmm.
s'mores
Hmm.
one that was really fun. Add those to your coffee. Shoot the moon.
Yeah, salted caramel. I think churro is their newest flavor. Yeah, we're going to be sticking primarily to the traditional, tried
Cool.
and true regular Baileys, but yeah, they have all those flavors out there, and you can play around with those as you will. Any of those would be great in your coffee, for sure. So, Michaela, let's talk about some movies here. So we had the Thanksgiving weekend. It was the long weekend. This is a 5 day total here, I guess, spanning from Wednesday to Sunday. But Moana 2 makes a boatload of money, like it's a Moana boat worth of money here. $221 million. Really, really great and fantastic opening. I don't think people were expecting it to open that well, but sure did, sure did. Wicked comes in its second week with $117.5 million, followed by Gladiator 2, Red One, and the best Christmas pageant ever. Michaela, we've talked a little bit about Moana. I don't want to, beat this drum too much, but anything you've heard about this other than apparently everyone in the world went to see it? So.
I mean, everybody went to see it. I'm really surprised that has done as well as it had. The previews look great. The animation is some of the most beautiful I've ever seen. Moana 1, I love the way they depicted water and like the way that they drew the tribal folks, and I just really really love the
Mm.
look of it. So it is something I'm watching. I wasn't able to pick it up this weekend to go see, but I am really surprised that it's done as well as it has, and that um, and Wicked had to take. I figured Wicked would have to take a seat back because Moana 2 was coming out, but I didn't know that it would be like dwarved by it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
that is.
really that's going to be hard because now we have Inside Out 2 and Moana 2 in the same year, as well as all these other really beautifully animated films this year. I'm telling you, that's going to be this that's going to be really hard come Oscar time, figuring out which one is going to take home the statue, and which ones are going to be nominated, because there's so many good that came out this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Oscars, you still have Wicked, you have Gladiator 2 out as well now. So get those watched. They'll probably be talked about uh, come Oscar time for sure. And we're going to be talking about Wicked here on the main show later this week. So, with that, of course, Moana 2 is out making $1 trillion. Wicked and Gladiator 2 are both out. So, no new movies really to talk about coming everyone's way this week. On TV, Disney Plus, you got the new Star Wars series, Skeleton Crew. It actually debuted just today with the first and second episodes. I haven't watched them yet, so no spoilers there, but go check that out if you need your Star Wars Amblin Entertainment kid fun time adventure. Definitely looking forward to watching that later today once we finish wrapping this. Michaela, on the podcast last week, we talked about The Nightmare Before Christmas. That was excellent. One of the all-time great holiday films. And this week, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Wicked, but we're doing some other fun stuff here as well. We did our chat for Red One. That's over on the Patreon there. We talked about that, the Santa Claus, the rock of all of that stuff. And we also did our hangout last week or 2 weeks ago, Michaela, and we came up with a really great idea. Actually, I came up with a great idea. I don't know what's wrong with me. I had too many
You did it
cocktails
to
in the cocktail
yourself.
chat. In the cocktail chat, but I decided that you were going to send me a Hallmark or like Netflix, like one of those cheesy Christmas movies to watch. And then we're going to talk about it on Patreon. So we're going to be releasing the first one of those this week. I'm going to be talking about California Christmas. Can't wait for that. Hopefully, I have enough Baileys in my life to get through that. So,
Yeah, you're gonna
uh,
need some.
yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But more information on that is over on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/drink the movies. So, Michaela, I think we better go ahead and wrap this one up, right? We have a lot of Baileys to get to. We've got some presents to
Sure.
start buying. Although we're not going to. We're going to
Yeah.
wait for like another like 20 days to sort that stuff out. But Bailey's comes first. So we'll do that. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves some coffee, try to make it through the first week of December, and we'll be back next week to chat to everyone in the lobby bar.